Okay, it's loading to live stream now. YouTube. And I have to turn the sound off over here so it doesn't echo. Multi-step process this is. Technology. Okay, welcome everyone. Glad to see those who've come before, those who may be new or have attended only once or twice. Aya Suvijana is hopefully happily, I think happily, in retreat right now for the next 3 weeks. So for the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at some suttas around the world, loka. And we've been talking about a pun here of the Spanish Pali, of the loco, crazy, loka world. So how do we stay steady and stable amidst that? So we'll look into that a little bit today. We'll start with Namo Tassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sangham namasami. So I was saying before the recording started that I'm under the influence of some of that conditioning of the world today. There we go. I had a steroid injection yesterday for my back, which hopefully will have some good effects in place soon. And in the meantime, like my heart rate is a bit faster, my blood pressure's a little up, I have a headache. So there are some effects, and we can see how one thing can move this world we're experiencing. So if I'm a little bit grasping after today, that's the nature of the conditioning, and we get to see, what impacts what. And just even the Namo Tassa and some of the meditation before I came, just feeling the body, feeling those words land in it can be immensely helpful for navigating. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I have put this in the form of a slideshow, and we'll see how that works. I believe I have to do the screen share first. Right up at the top. Share. And application. There. Okay, great. You're seeing that. I'll put it in slideshow mode. So when I put it in slideshow mode, you can see the whole of the screen. Is that correct? Okay, great. Good. So I've taken extracts from a number of different translators, Bhikkhu Bodhi, Sujatu Bhikkhu, Tanesaro Bhikkhu, and I've done some minor edits, just either for the flow or maybe the pronouns, just to bring it into, or changing it to practitioners, or there might be just no content has been changed at the level of Dhamma. On the topic today, and probably for the next several weeks, is going to be Loka, the world. So I'm thinking we may cover these first 4 today. I can't quite, there we go. And if not, they'll carry over to next week. So let's start with, what is this loka we speak of? A lot of times in the sutta, someone will ask the Buddha, what is this or what is that? So what is loka? And loka can mean multiple levels of things. It can be the entire cosmos. It can be the world system. So, the human realm, the animal realm, the realms of existence, the hells, the heavens, the ghosts. So it can mean that entire system of where one might be in the cosmos. It can mean, so the planes of existence. It can also mean the population, the people, the beings that are in these realms at this time. And then where the Buddha really turns us, the root of the word lok is to look. So it really turns us to looking at our world of experience. So today we'll look a bit at how do we experience the world, and what influences our experience of the world. What are the conditions that we're encountering because we're in this loka? So please feel free to ask questions as we go. I think there's a lot of material, and I'd rather touch on it as we go if there's a question about the material. If we're talking about our experience and our next steps and those kind of things, let's save it toward the end. We'll have both time potentially on recording, and then we'll also potentially have some time off screen, depending also on how this loka feels. We'll see how much time we give afterwards. But I'm feeling all right, except this agitation that's in the system that I know is not, coming from the monastic conditioning. It's coming from this substance that's in the body right now, and really interesting to see the interactions of that. I want to bring in real world examples of what those things can be that set us off into some of the different states. So how important or how frequent is the question or the exploration of this concept of loka, the world, when we look at the Pali Canon, which is the one that we mostly use within the Theravada tradition? You can see over here, it's broken down into the different books. We've got some in the Vinaya, the monastic code, the Digha Nikayas, the longer discourses, the Majjhima Nikayas, the middle-length discourses, Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourses, Anguttara, the numbered, Khuddaka, the collection. You can see there's 1,922 sightings of loka, or the different compounds of loka, within the Khuddaka Nikaya. And then also the Abhidhamma, another 479. So quite a number of times does this come up. And one of the most famous times it comes up as a question is the end of the world, and how do we reach it? And here there's kind of a play on the world, this globe, walking on the globe, around the globe, through the sky, and the actual world that is what is the potential of the ending of these rounds of worldly being. So this sutta, I'm only just pulling in a little extract in order to set kind of the why would we investigate this? And the sutta says, the end of the world can never be reached by traveling. In our society, we talk about the end of the world as being this terrible thing. And here, this is a sage who's come to the Buddha and said, I'm really seeking the end of the world, the end of this stream of continued existence, my relationship with it, and I'm finding the end of the world can never be reached by traveling. But without, and this is the Buddha speaking to him now. The end of the world can never be reached by traveling. But without reaching the end of the world, there's no release from suffering. So an intelligent person understands the world. That's part of what we'll be exploring. Has completed the spiritual journey and gone to the end of the world. Assuaged, knowing the end of the world, they do not hope for this world or the next. And this person who has done this work is called a lokantagu, one who has gone to the end of the world. The loka is the word that we just saw about the world. Anta is end, and gu would be the one who has experienced this. So with our continued practice, hopefully each one of us here can become a lokantagu. This word also appears in many combinations. So compound words throughout. There's 122. I only just clipped a random-ish few of those, but I will share these slides at some point so you can link to different sources and be able to search for these. I used the Digital Poly Dictionary to look up and have it search for me these things. But we can see words like the world with its multiple diverse elements. Also something we need to look at, the elements that are in this causal system. Our present life, our thoughts about the world, speculation about this life, being dependent on this world, or what is dependent on this world. The one who knows the world, that's another good epithet. This one is often used for the Buddha, the Lokavidu. Now, the end of the world, the welfare of the world. Are we dependent on the world, on its authority, on its opinion? Looking at all in the world, Sabba Lokasmim. There's a line in the Metta Sutta, Metang Sabba Lokasmim, metta for all in the whole world. And it can also be, as I said before, the whole system of the thousand world system, they call it. So again, just stressing the importance and why we would spend 3 or 4 weeks on this concept. So the first of the suttas we'll look at is very short, very kind of a riddle. And this is with Deva, who's come to the Buddha, and asks the Buddha this: in what has the world arisen? In what does it form intimacy? By clinging to what is the world harassed in regard to what? So this is an amazing kind of succinct set of questions of, how did we get here? What is it we're in contact and connection and intimate with? And where intimate is a whole system connection with. By clinging to what keeps us stuck and harassed. I feel like that word is pretty applicable to how we often experience the conditions within the world. Like there's the simile of the flayed cow, and just the wind and the flies and everything really cause that cow's body to be harassed. So what is it that is harassing us? Where did we arise, and what are we sticky with? And the Buddha's reply is somewhat a riddle, enigmatic. In 6 has the world arisen. In 6 it forms intimacy. By clinging to 6, the world is harassed in regard to 6. Now, I'm imagining that this Deva just got it, knew what 6 the Buddha was referring to. If it had been another being, they might have said, "Venerable Sir, what's 6?" So we have in the notes from Bhante Sujato, and as you do your meditation practice, you'll come to see the 6 sense bases is this thing that we are intimate with and we are harassed by in our common world experience. And the six sense spaces being, the five of the eyes, ears, nose, taste, the body, tactile sensations, and then also the mind. So these are the things that we are in contact with. So this is in Samyutta Nikaya 170, clinging to what is the world harassed, the six sense spaces. Hopefully we will get far enough into the suttas today that we'll come to the encouraging side. So have no fear. This is not a depressing path. It can seem at first like, whoa, this is a lot, it's overwhelming. How do we deal with this? But there really is a way to the end of this walking that we do. So the next one we'll continue with some of the questions that arise. And this is in the connected discourses, and it's with King Pasenadi. And it looks like we're using Thanissaro Bhikkhus for the prose part of this and Sujato Bhikkhu for the poem. Near Savatthi, as he was sitting to one side, King Pasenadi Kosala said to the Blessed One, how many qualities of the world that, when arising, arise for harm, stress, and discomfort? And we'll look a little at those Pali words in a bit. So in how many ways are we harassed? And the Buddha replies, 3 qualities of the world, great king, when arising, arise for harm, stress, and discomfort. Which 3? Greed, great king, is a quality of the world when arising, arises for harm, stress, and discomfort. Aversion, great king, is a quality of the world that when arising, arises for harm, stress, and discomfort. Delusion is a quality of the world that when arising, arises for harm, stress, and discomfort. These are the 3 qualities of the world, great king, that when arising, arise for harm, stress, and discomfort. That is what the Blessed One said, and having said that, the one well gone, the teacher said further. And this is the poem, Bhante Sujato's translation. When greed, hate, and delusion have arisen inside oneself, they harm a person of wicked heart, as a bamboo is destroyed by its own fruit. So we'll look at the bamboo, but so there are these 3 things. Often one way of expressing them is calling them the 3 poisons. So greed, hate, and delusion are the things that are harassing our experience. So just as I've got this vibration, I feel myself sometimes going into a little bit of an aversion, like, oh, this is not very helpful right now. And noticing, well, there's some, and there's some delusion in that approach. It's like, no, actually, here is an example of a simple little thing that is poisoning my present moment experience. It's knocking me off just a little bit, maybe. But really, one who is freed of the poisons can be just in the experience and not be harmed. So this is not for the harm of the Arahant when something bodily comes up or when something in the world. We'll go into some of those more. So I'd like to say a little bit about this analogy because I didn't know what it meant. Just I haven't had a lot of experience with bamboo and its life cycle. So I wondered about what does it mean that we're poisoned, one who's not, leaning towards akusala. I should look at the Pali, what this was. I had looked and it's not in my head at the moment. So this one who's not inclined rightly at this time. What is it? The bamboo is destroyed. So found this image of what at least this variety of bamboo. I know there are lots of varieties of bamboo. Suvijana was telling me one that they'd encountered at the Hermitage that had more of a like a wheat type of seeding, but she described the same experience. That what happens in bamboo fruit is it goes many, many, many years, most of its life, without fruiting. And all of the nutrients are going into the roots and the stalk, the leaves. And then at the point at which it fruits, which can be just maybe that's its point in its life cycle, or it may have encountered a stressor, and there's this, I'm just going to anthropomorphize a little bit, there's this concern about its propagation, that it may die. And so it then fruits, and the energy goes into the creation of the fruit. And because the energy has gone to the cultivation and fruiting to be able to propagate, the energy is no longer at its optimum in the stalk and the roots and the leaves. And so it's not the fruit itself that kills the bamboo, it is the depletion of these qualities. So in us, the greed, the hate, and the delusion. It's the depletion we experience in those, and that our system is consumed by the feeding or experiencing of those that depletes the rest of us. And it's that depletion that makes it out of alignment with good Dhamma practice, with being in the moment. So there were two Dhammapada verses that kind of touched on this same kind of theme. 164, whoever on account of perverted views scorns the teaching of the perfected one. Also, the teaching here of the perfected one in alignment with reality, things that are true. If I'm scorning reality and the truth of reality as taught by the Buddha, the noble and righteous ones, so also those who've come to teach that further, that fool, like the bamboo, produces fruits only for self-destruction. So it's a comic creation that's happening when we're attached to the greed, hate, delusion, and putting our energies into that. We're producing karma that is going to bear a fruit in our existence, in our world. And so one who, on account of perverted views, scorns this truth, they will produce fruits only for self-destruction. And a simile that's similar, Dhammapada 240, just as rust arising from iron eats away the base from which it arises, even so their own deeds lead transgressors to states of woe. So like rust will eat away at the iron that it's on. So it will deplete and destroy and eat away our current worldly experiences. I think we see it in ourselves and others, that when we're mired in these poisons, or these poisons are very frequently in our system, that it leads to woe. It leads to a sense of, discomfort, despair. It leads to a unhealthy relationship with who and what we are, how we're living. So it will end and leads to states of woe also means in the sense of upon rebirth. Now, this will be part of the karma that is directing us. And at some point, if we haven't really seen clear to the end of the world, it will bear fruit. And that state of woe will emerge. So, or the depressing side of things that also can be very encouraging. Like, okay, yes, I have dispassion for continuing in this mode of the world. So I really don't think it's entirely depressing. I think it is a reality. It is a part of seeing clearly. I listened to something this morning, and the person had said, well, I'm not sure I'm going to get the quote right. Oh, with mindfulness, the things that used to annoy us amuse us. And that's not amused in a I want to engage further with it way, but it's an I'm not moved by it. I'm not shattered by it. I'm not hooked into it. I'm kind of have, and I think we've probably, I've definitely experienced that sense of, oh, of course it's like this. This is the reality of what's emerging from this person or this situation or my experience based on conditioning. Um, and Ayasobana, another bhikkhuni, used to say, "Here we go again." Uh, and with a little bit of a humor to say, it's kind of like, Mara, I see you, and I'm going to stay relaxed and balanced as I deal with this condition. And we'll go into some of those conditions now in the worldly winds. So, don't know if there's a way for me to take my own hand down. Let's see.
Reactions.
In, oh,
Reactions.
reactions. I'm on participant. Oh, because the screen is in a speaker view, I'm not getting the same console. So I'll just have to allow it to be what it is. Curiosity to explore it another time. Thank you for the attempt to help. Okay, so here we are again in the Samyutta Nikaya with King Pasenadi. I wanted to go on into this one a little bit further. Next, we'll go into the worldly winds. So here we do have some of the Pali associated with it, and we're looking at Sujatu Bhikkhu Bhante Sujato's translation. Great King, three things arise in the world for its harm, suffering, and discomfort. What three? Greed, hate, and delusion. These three things arise in the world for its harm, suffering, and discomfort. So, dukkaya, root is dukkha. I think that's a word I don't need to translate because it would take us the entire session to do so. But I think everyone here has heard of that word, stress or suffering. It has a very broad range from, a little hangnail to world-ending war to, despair. The whole realm of things. It can be a bodily distress, and it may not have a mental distress associated, or it may. The other two words here, ahitaya and apasuviharaya, these here translated as harm and discomfort. Ahita, so it has a number of different definitions here that are of course related, that the is a negation typically, so not good, unbeneficial, harmful, bad, unfriendly, and the hita is the place, a support. It literally means not supported. So this sense that the non-support, what is it that is not for our support? Harm, damage, disadvantage. But I like to sometimes look at words in their subtlest form, because we can say, oh, well, I don't feel terribly disadvantaged right now. There's not a lot of misfortune in my life. but are we really supporting practice for the ending of this cycle of world travel? Or are we kind of flowing with the winds that we're going to look at later and just kind of having a good time at the moment? So looking at the Pali can be very helpful because we can see the range of how a word can be applied. And as your practice develops, you can go to a subtler and subtler experience and form of that word to explore it. So dukkha, maybe when I first started looking at dukkha, it was a consuming, I need serious therapy, lots of support, and I'm consumed by it experience to investigate and just be caught in the dukkha of it. And now I can notice the little dukkhas, just a scratch in the throat, a blip in the mind, a distraction. So really, what is it? When I come back to the question, is this supporting? Is it supporting, for me, I look at it, is it supporting the right ending of samsara, which is the aim of my monastic life? And you can apply this to whatever it is. Is this beneficial, not beneficial? Is it supporting? And the other word was apasuviharaya. Another word you may see within that people are familiar with is vihara, the dwelling, the pasu, that touch, the har root here is the living, the abiding. So when we put this word together, it's the discomfort or the uncomfort of our existence, the living in difficulty, troubled. Here's the breakdown of the word. Not touching our experience, our lived experience, and the na is also a discomfort added onto that. So the root here, the pasu, is looking at touch as ease or comfort, support for, and the na pasu would be a lack of ease or lack of comfort or difficulty, and the vihara is the dwelling, the way that we live. How do we spend our time? Now, what is our mode of existence, our world? So I wanted to bring some of that in today of the subtlety of breaking apart the words to really have the suttas penetrate at a deeper level as we practice. This sounds intellectual, but that's not really the intention here. It's the intention to give us the vocabulary that we can be in the experience of our practice and have ways of identifying what's happening and a roadmap, some clues to point at, how am I touching reality right now? And what is the way that I'm abiding? How am I spending my time? One of the 10 reflections, how well am I spending my time? It says the days and nights are relentlessly passing. How well am I spending my time? So we do some of the intellectual to give us the vocabulary that we can then delve deeper into our practice. So we had from Samyutta Nikaya 170, clinging to what is the world harassed, the 6 sense bases. What in the world causes living in difficulty? The 3 poisons, greed, hate, delusion. So we'll go on to, are we doing on time? Okay, good. Enough. We'll go on to the worldly winds. And this one's in the Anguttara Nikaya. And we're going to use Thanissaro Bhikkhu's translation with some edits. I did put the links to both Dhammataks's, Thanissaro Bhikkhu's translations, Sutta Central, Bhante Sujato's, and sometimes others. And sometimes there are others at Dhammataks as well. So another sutta that people have probably encountered many times, either as a sutta or if not, in their lived experience. Practitioners, these 8 worldly conditions spin after the world, and the world spins after these 8 worldly conditions. So what makes this world go round? That's a question we hear in songs and poetry. Which 8? Gain, loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, and pain. These are the 8 worldly conditions that spin after the world, and the world spins after these 8 worldly conditions. For an uninstructed, run-of-the-mill person, there arise gain, loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, and pain. For a well-instructed disciple of the Noble Ones, there also arise gain, loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, and pain. So these are the conditions that exist because we are in the world, and particularly also that we're in the human form. Some of these may be more prevalent. So what difference, what distinction, what distinguishing factor is there between the well-instructed disciple of the Noble Ones and the uninstructed, run-of-the-mill person? The Blessed One said, gain arises for an uninstructed, run-of-the-mill person, and they do not reflect. Gain has risen for me. It is inconstant, stressful, and subject to change. They do not discern it as it has come to be. So they haven't reflected. They're lost in it. Loss arises, status arises, disgrace arises, censure arises, praise arises, pleasure arises, pain arises, and they do not reflect. Pain has arisen for me. It is inconstant, stressful, and subject to change. They do not discern it as it come to be. And you may be familiar with this trio here, inconstant, stressful, and subject to change. That's the way that Thanissaro Bhikkhu most commonly translates the, put it in the order that it is here, anicca, dukkha, anatta. No, wait. That's not quite right. We'll see how it goes from here. Need the Pali behind that one. I was thinking it was the 3, but my brain is not going there. Okay, so their mind remains consumed with the gain, with the loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, and pleasure. Their mind remains consumed with the pain. So they're not using discernment here. They welcome the arisen gain, and they rebel against the arisen loss. They welcome the arisen status and rebel against the arisen disgrace. They welcome the arisen praise and rebel against the arisen censure. And they welcome the arisen pleasure and rebel against the arisen pain. As they are thus engaged in welcoming and rebelling, they are not released from birth, aging, or death, from sorrows, lamentations, pains, distress, or despair. They are not released, I tell you, from suffering and stress. So I've definitely been there. I've definitely experienced this. The pulls and the pushing against. It comes down to identifying with and wanting things to be different or wanting them to continue. Now, gain arises for a well-instructed disciple of the Noble Ones, and they reflect, gain has arisen for me. It's inconstant, stressful, and subject to change. They discern it as it actually is. Loss arises, status arises, disgrace arises, censure arises, pain arises, pleasure arises, pain arises. And they reflect, pain has arisen for me. It is inconstant, stressful, and subject to change. They discern it as it actually is. So their mind does not remain consumed with the gain, consumed with the loss, the status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, and their mind does not remain consumed with the pain. They do not welcome the arisen gain. Oh, yes, I want more. They do not rebel against the arisen loss. Oh, whoa, I've lost, out on such an opportunity. They do not welcome the arisen status or rebel against disgrace, and they do not welcome the arisen praise or rebel against the arisen censure. They do not welcome the arisen pleasure or rebel against the arisen pain, and they thus abandon welcoming and rebelling. They are released from birth, aging, and death, from sorrows, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. They are released, I tell you, from suffering and stress. This is the difference, the distinction, the distinguishing factor between the well-instructed disciple and the noble ones, and the uninstructed run-of-the-mill person. And then there's a poem, and maybe before I say the poem, I'll say, I was in a conversation with someone who's done so much work with this yesterday, and particularly where we're talking about communications and asking for clarifications and feedback, which can be somewhat in that censure and praise thing. And some people were saying, well, I want feedback, but I hope some of it is positive, so help me stay balanced. And this person who'd done a lot of work, he says, I love criticism because it helps me to see how I might communicate better and how I might understand better. Something that someone tells me may say, oh, I haven't really understood that. I need to do some more meditation practice work, whatever it is, to have a better sense of clarity about that. And so they said, I light up basically when somebody begins this criticism. And this is a practice in monastic life where we invite criticism quite frequently to help support it. But they're not like laying onto it a sense of identity around it. It's like, for this is for my benefit, this is for their benefit. And this is how we can work with these worldly winds. They exist, they can inform us about things, they might help direct us, but I'm not going to go grasping after. If it comes along, sure, I welcome the criticism, but I'm not lusting after it. Or I welcome the praise, but I'm not needing it for my stability. So it's not that these things don't exist in the minds of all of us along the path. It's that our relationship with it is not destabilizing or identifying. So here's the poem. Gain, loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, pain. These conditions among human beings are inconstant, impermanent, subject to change. Knowing this, mindful, the intelligent person ponders these changing conditions. Right there, that's our meditation, that's our mindfulness. Desirable things don't charm the mind. I love that phrase. Desirable things don't charm the mind. Undesirable ones bring no resistance. Their welcoming and rebelling are scattered, gone to their end, do not exist. Knowing the dustless, sorrowless state, they discern rightly, have gone beyond becoming to the further shore. So, let's go back. I do want to just pop over to Sutta Central to look at the Pali for that, those characteristics there. I need to put it into, let's do this view. Here it is, impermanent suffering, perishable. Oh, okay. So the poly here is anicca. Oh, so it's impermanent, dukkha. Um, and then it isn't the third. I think eventually you do see the anatta within this, but that's not what's being pointed to here. Viparinama dhammo. So this is the changing nature of the, and here dhammo is pretty much all things, all conditioned things. So that we're looking at the changing nature of it. So I just wanted to clarify and correct myself on that one. I can go back to this. And we'll do the overview here. The clinging to what in the world? What is the world harassed? The six sense spaces. What in the world causes living in difficulty? The three poisons. And what spins the world? That image really works for me. What spins the world? The eight worldly winds. And next I wanted to get into an arahant and their experience of this. However, I'm wondering, about opening up first to see if there are any questions or comments or things that you want to touch on about these last, how do I go backwards? The basically what we're looking at, the drivers of the world. So our experiential basis for it, the poisons that can really put us out of balance, and the eight worldly winds. Is there anyone who would like to ask questions or comments or clarifications on that? Okay, I see something in the chat. Would changing nature also be the unreliability of the world? Yes, I think so. I think that it's helping you point to the unreliability of it. I think at that point it's really asking us to explore the nature of it, to really see that. I mean, even now I can feel my blood pressure is dropped. It's not the same as it was at the beginning of this hour. So there is a changing nature as the chemistry makeup, as the, whatever it is that constitutes what's driving those particular characteristics. As they shift, the conditioning shifts, then the nature of those qualitative points also shift. So we're exploring the changing nature. And out of that, I think you actually do see all of the characteristics, but very particularly you see the unreliability, that you can't depend on it. And from that, you'll see dispassion. Tania.
Let me unmute. Oh,
Yes.
I am unmuted. I just thank you so much for this. It really puts things into a nutshell again, and then echoes reminders again. I just wanted to note something that seems interesting, and I don't know if there's a comment on it. There's this almost circular or lack of separation of the self and the experience of whatever, not the self, but our experience, and then the external world. And the way, like even in the summary here, it's it's a little bit inseparable. And I find that very interesting because you started slide one and it got me thinking um, with the end of the world. And I started thinking, you mean like the experience one has with the end of the world or some actual like end of the world externally? But then it's interesting because you ended um, I don't know what to call it, lecture with a talk study with becoming 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 to the further shore. And so these are very interesting because not only are they metaphorical, but maybe they're beyond metaphorical is what I'm thinking. It's the end of the experience, but it's not the end of it's the end of a particular kind of experience, but it's not the end. There's like a further shore.
Yes.
So the two next to each other seem at first contradictory, but I could imagine holding them both at the same time. And there's something very beautiful about that. Thank you.
Yes, and that's why this is definitely going to be a multi-week thing is there's this relationship with the external, there's the relationship with the internal, and the sense of how conditioned we are that this self is so terribly conditioned and it arises. So I'm going to use self also in two ways of looking at it. There is this conventional experience of reality from the perspective of my sense bases and my interaction with things, with my uh, previous knowledge base, which is conditioning me. With, so there is this calling self as the position from which the interaction is occurring. And then there's this self, which is, and some of it's tied up in that conditioning, is this belief in an ego that is doing it, that is continuing it, that is experiencing it. And I mean, I don't know to see if you can see notice the body shift that occurs as I pull that on. It's like something gets rigid. I am not in the flow of the Dhamma when I'm in taking seriously this position of me. And that position of me does not go to the further shore. The actual dhammas and the flow. It's you'll see it more and more in different words. We don't have words for this deathless experience. So what is it that is the further shore? That's we're going back through. I don't know how many times we've read it. The monastics here are looking at The Island, a book collection Ajahn Amaro and Ajahn Pasno put together. And I'd love to delve into that one further as well. And it's like these conventional languaging we have just can't touch on that as to what it is. But as we saw in the last sutta, it isn't that the worldly experience is not there. It's that the arahant is not thrown off by it, and therefore already at the further shore. But the winds are the winds. The khandas are the six the sense spaces, the khandas, the all of these things are still present in us pre-enlightenment and post-enlightenment. Any other questions or comments, or should we just touch briefly? I won't go full into the story of the Arahant this week. Satima, Kat, Anne?
I have to unfortunately leave at 7. I'm sorry, but I hope to be back again. Thank you so
That would
much.
It'd be lovely to have you back, and the rest of the recorded part you can catch on the YouTube if you
Oh, okay.
wish. And
Yes.
we'll recap it also a little bit
Okay.
next week.
Sadhu.
Take care. All right. Venerable Satima, I see an unmuting.
No, I just, wow. Really so grateful for this really rich, really deep teaching. And actually, I'll be in retreat for the next couple of weeks, so I won't be able to follow you with some regret. I won't be able to catch the next couple of talks. But it's really, really beautiful. I really, really appreciate this really wonderful Dhamma talk today.
With appreciation for your praise and knowing that it's a worldly wind. That's something that I've really noticed in like the teachers I greatly respect is that they can acknowledge, yes, I hear you,
Yeah.
and I appreciate your voice,
And
and I'm not moved, I'm not rocked.
yeah.
Um, And if you find, just even for the purpose of like seeing the suttas and things that I covered, you're welcome post retreat or
Yeah.
to go look at the
Hmm.
videos and scrape out the things for
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
exploration.
I just love reading the sutras, and
Oh, I know. I
hearing
mean,
them.
just this time, and I feel my,
Mhm.
can call it our nervous system or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think the chemical notice, input has greatly changed in my system, but
Yep.
somehow the relation has.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's what reading the suttas can do for us.
Yeah. It's true.
All right. So very briefly, I'm just going to put this up so that people can look it out up on their own. And we will start here next week. The Bhikkhus enlightenment poem that I picked to kind of show us that not just does the Buddha say that there are those who are beyond shaken by these winds, but we get the poem and the experience of one who did that. And the backstory on this venerable was that they were in a family of caravan leaders, so they were in trade and they would transport goods. And after the father died, they continued in this trade. And there was one day with a large caravan, one of the oxen fell that were pulling the carts, and the drivers and whatnot came down and tried to goad the oxen back into standing. And Godatta went over and he struck the ox. You know, this ox who'd been in service for who knows how long. And, in the way of the expressions at the time, whether it was, truly a voice or not, it might have been. The ox took a human voice and chided Godatta, saying, oh, I've I've given all of this service, and here you are with ingratitude. And this really impacted this caravan driver. And he looked at it. He did that exploration, and so then he renounced this wealth, this massive property that he had, and he became a bhikkhu. And then over time, he looked at these worldly winds and he reached enlightenment. So we'll start next week with his enlightenment poem. That might be a great way to start your retreat, is with an enlightenment poem. The
What?
Godatta.
Why not?
Absolutely. End the retreat with your own enlightenment poem, for full awakening. I'd love to hear that one.
Maybe, maybe so.
Maybe so. All right, so I'm going to stop the screen sharing. And did that work? Okay, there we go. And if anyone, oh, there, the system finally lowered my hand for me. Wait long enough. Patience, Kanti. So if anyone has anything they would like to say or ask on recording, this is the time that they want to be able to capture to be able to come back to later. And then we can also then shift off, do the Arahang to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and have further. So Venerable Satima.
Yes, we'd just like to invite everyone on this call and everyone who may see this video to take a moment and send metta blessings to both Aya Panavati, who is nearing the end of her life, and to Aya Gunasari, who is also seems to be coming close, and to all of the members of the Sangha who are praying and sending lots of loving thoughts for both these really wonderful, good forces of energy in the world.
Very grateful for you bringing that up. Yes, this definitely, it's both these people are on our metta and merit list here. Aya Gunasari, the word I would think to most apply would be metta. and so many metta teachings. There are not a lot of recordings of her. And then for Venerable Panyavati, I think well named Panya. So many wisdom sharings, and we heard that even now that she's meeting with some of her longtime students and imparting that wisdom for continued practice. So they've beautiful presences in the world that we share the merits with for the transition time and for their continued well-being at whatever stage of enlightenment they have reached or will reach in this process. I think maybe that's a good point to do the Arahang, and then we will go off the recording for anything anyone wants to share from their personal experience or questions and comments for later. So if you wish to join me, you may. Arahang Samha Sambuddho Bhagavat Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Sakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami